State for the win. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won the tournament.
They take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams still spinning free. Touchdown! The touchdown in the first possession, back in the game, and he's loose again. Edwards off and running. Welcome back, Donovan Edwards.
He's going for the corner. He's got it.
This is the Gridiron Uncensored.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. And we are rolling on with team previews, man. It's that time of year. If you've been watching, we've got the group of five already knocked out. Talked about the contenders there. And then now we're moving on. We put it out to the public. They voted for the Big 12 on Twitter. They said they don't care about the ACC. They want to know about the Big 12. And that's where we're at. So we're going to start off. And we're going from worst to first, baby. That's just. And hey, Oklahoma State fans, I'm sorry. It's just how it went. I don't make the rules. I guess we do, but that's just what we're trying. We're choosing to go with that. So obviously, you're on deck first after an abysmal 2024 season. And I know you guys don't want to hear about it anymore, but we just got to do a quick look. It was bad. 3-9. Okay. You did win your out of conference game against Arkansas. That was a wild game. I feel like each team was just trying to lose. And then you get into conference play and just, look at that.
The results speak for themselves there. I'm just saying.
And what's that lead to? What's that season like that lead to? Well, it leads to changes, right? And it has to. If you continue on with what you have from a season like that, your fan base is gonna have a come apart, and they already were having a come apart, but now it's not as bad. There's changes. Trev, coaching side of it, because kind of how we roll. We do 2024 coaching changes, then we get into the X's and O's type players. What do you see on the coaching changes side? There's plenty to
talk about and dive into, honestly. So honestly, really my focus for this segment on my end, at least, is going to be the focus on the new defense and offensive coordinators. Doug Meacham coming in as the new OC is, I think, a good move for really anyone's part. He's also doing receivers as well. It makes sense that he becomes the OC in my mind, because the offensive styles between TCU and Oklahoma State are not too dissimilar. Meaning that I feel like they have a generalized same concept, except I think OSU in the past has been, especially in the recent future, has been more run focused as opposed to pass focused like TCU normally is. So I think Meacham coming in and bringing his twist on a already decent offensive scheme for OSU could be a very good addition. TCU, he was TCU's OC from 2020 to 2024, so we all know what they did in the 2020, 2021, and going through that, they were one of the more premier offenses in the country. Those 2020, 2021, and somewhat of 2022 kind of fell off after the quarterback left and everything like that. But like I said, OSU bringing him in, I think will do them wonders. And then bringing in Todd Grantham, a steely-eyed veteran in the coaching ranks, and really, he is. I don't want to say an expert, because an expert means that he's at a different program than Oklahoma State. But what I will say is that his expertise, or his area that he focuses on, is generally the front seven. In his coaching career, it's mostly been defensive line, linebackers, and then stints as the coordinator and linebackers. Like, it's all stemming around that front seven, which I think, especially in Oklahoma State's case, needs to be a focal point. You strengthen the front seven, the corners will be able. You can get decent corners just about every year in the recruiting and the transfer portal. Defensive front seven is tougher to replace. A good defensive front seven is tougher to replace. I'll argue that until I'm blue in the face, as opposed to replacing a safety or a corner from the previous year's defense. I just think that with him being more defensive linebacker focused, I think will benefit their defense going through the 2025 schedule and season.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, that's really all I wanted to touch on with that. I know that they had other movements, meaning they had, what is it? Quarterbacks coach. Kevin Johns takes over as quarterbacks coach, running backs coach. Man, they just retooled everywhere.
It's a total turnover.
It's essentially, guys, it's a total overhaul minus a few position coaches and analyst spots, but other than that, they're starting fresh. So with that said, Andy has no flipping excuses.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised if they have a season like that last season. He's still with Oklahoma State. I know he's like for some reason or another he can do no wrong with them, but I feel like if you build an entire new staff, I feel like you're pretty much setting yourself up either for success or a lot of failure.
Well, it's like a chips all in movement, you know.
Yep.
And it was the same way with the roster. And you know, you talked about Grantham real quick, and he mentioned it. He was like, "Hey, look, I want it to be simple. We're going to be multiple, but simplify it. Focus on stopping the run, and force these quarterbacks in the Big 12 to go out and try to beat us that way." Portal wise, I mean, you know, again, it was total meteorite to the team between coaching staff and portal. You got 40 players coming in, and I got to scroll down, 28 leaving. So I mean, you're talking a total retooling. Offensively, you know, I've got too many to name on guys that'll be important, but you're looking at guys like Henji coming in. That's probably going to be the quarterback after, you know, the spring portal. You lost you know, your quarterbacks that were already on the roster. You brought in a couple new ones to build depth. You got Boykins coming in, Demarion Thomas, you know, guys like that coming in to try and help out. And then key outs, you got Deshaun Stribling, Kendall Daniels, and then Justin Kirkland are the main ones that I saw as dudes leaving. But really, again, a solid portal class. You look at it, obviously, so many, 32nd in the country. You know, volume is huge there. You're building that depth back up, and to pair with your recruiting classes. Trev, anything out of the portal you saw that stood out to you?
I just looking at their portal class, I honestly, the biggest takeaway for me is that I feel like the more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess impact style players that they got were mostly to do with the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, quarterback is always going to be an impactful position, regardless of what team you're talking about. But as far as like over the total haul of transfers that came in, I feel like the Cowboys mostly focused on getting the best defensive players they could. Where some of the ones that I notated were two safeties in particular, one coming from Miami and Saquon Patterson, the other one coming from UNC, DeAndre Boykins. I like those two pickups at safety. I like the Wendell Gregory, the edge rusher out of South Carolina. I really like him. Taj McCoy, he came from Colorado system, so who knows what you're going to get with him. But yeah, I mean, hopefully he'll turn himself around and get out of the mindset of an entitled player and work within the concept of a team. I'm not saying that's what he thinks, but that's literally what Colorado kind of teaches, is that you're your own individual player. It's not about the team, it's about you. And that's not kind of how college football is.
And that's really not how, you know, Oklahoma State is either.
No, it's not.
They're known for having a strong culture, having
strong loyalty to each other, to the team.
Absolutely.
And no matter how good or bad they're doing, they still kind of what's the word? All move in the same direction. You don't see a bunch of players on social media blowing things up out of proportion when it's always usually one voice, and that's Mike Gundy's voice.
Agreed. And a couple more of these guys we'll mention as we talk offense, defense, which, you know, we'll move into here. And obviously the main question, who's going to be the quarterback? And before spring, you know, there was talk about Rangel being the guy, but he's moved on to Virginia Tech. Let me double check. Yeah, to Virginia Tech. And then, but you guys brought in, Henji coming in from TCU, who's got familiarity with the offensive coordinator coming in. So that is something that I think immediately stands out. Obviously, there's a couple other guys like Zane Flores. He was injured last year. He's back. But then you also brought in Bowen in the portal to solidify, the quarterback depth chart. So I think Henji's going to be the guy. I'd be surprised if it was anybody else. You brought him in. He looked all right in the spring. He's not thrown a pass in college yet, but he had some rushes last year, and he reserved his red shirt, I believe. So that's something, that I think that's your quarterback there for the future. He's it. Weapons side, Rodney Fields, you're looking for him to step up. Some other guys coming in, Khalib Hicks, Brock's probably getting in the rotations. And then Gavin Freeman, he, from what I was reading, he sat out last year. Again, we're outside looking in. We're not, Oklahoma State, insiders. But from what I was reading, he sat out last year to preserve his eligibility. And then he's back this year. So you're looking for him to really take that next step. Guys like Lofton, Rigsby coming in from the portal. Those are all guys that, whoever the quarterback is, they need them to step up and to be those, dedicated targets for them. And it's always been something with Oklahoma State. I've never felt like they're offensively going to be challenged. Like, I just always feel like they're going to be out there no matter what the core or wide receiver situation, running back, they're always going to be able to move the ball. But last year was tough, even, with Ollie Gordon and Bowman coming back, even though we mentioned, like, hey, what side of him are you going to see? So this year, who steps up? Who's going to be the guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that assessment at all. I think that the amount of players that they lost, on top of bringing in the new OC and the new offense, somewhat of the new offensive system, I'm sure that Gundy is going to try and keep some of his offensive stylings within that system. But I mean, you bring in a guy that was offensive coordinator at TCU, you kind of expect it to be more of a pass heavy kind of thing, or an option type of offense per se. So I don't know, with all these new players, honestly, it's the biggest question mark for me with the Oklahoma State, is that I don't see anybody that's true game changing talent coming in. However, if they're all like, it's all about how teams gel. Cause I feel like even when you think of like Indiana, for example, I mean, I know that team was all transfers, but when you look at it, a lot of them came from the same system. The system was easy for them, for other players to learn and get behind. And it's all about the core group. It's not just Gundy. It needs to be junior, senior leadership, or some of these guys coming in as transfers, taking in a leadership role and kind of getting everybody moving in the same direction where they all are on the same page. I think that's the biggest thing for the offense right now, is that how fast can the TCU can meet them, kind of get with the program and get these kids on the program and understanding the offense as fast as possible. That's my biggest question for this whole season right now. Yeah. And the offense in total, honestly, is the biggest question for me.
Yeah, and I think, and I apologize, I've been saying his name wrong. I've been saying Henji. I'm not dyslexic. I just fucking wrote it down wrong. My bad. It's Hedgney. A guy, again, from TCU. I think he's going to be it. You brought in new weapons. Wide receiver from Purdue, 6'3". Again, Purdue receivers are always usually something you can count on. So there's targets here. The offensive line, I think, is where you just really want to see. Again, you mentioned it. If you can't run the football, you're not going to do well. And the offensive line improvement, they brought in new coaches dedicated to that. You need to see them really step up and give these backs some lanes. I'm slightly optimistic about Oklahoma State, to be honest with you, because I know Gundy feels the pressure. I know he sees this. He's like, oh, he does. After everything,
you don't have a season like that and not feel pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, you got, obviously, the dude's like royalty there, and he's this happened, you have everything. You've got to go full in. And I read an article earlier that said, oh, it's a poor decision to go all in like he did. I disagree. To me, it's, hey, this is it. Let's run this thing. Let's see what we can do. And you mentioned Indiana, and I was going to say that as well. Obviously different, like you mentioned, a lot of the guys from JMU moved over, so there was some cohesion there already. But this, we'll talk about schedule here in a minute. It's very similar. We'll mention again. Let's move on to defensive side because we talked about Grantham coming over, and really that's I think they've had some really nice additions. Linebacker side of it too.
Yeah.
That from what I've been reading, 4-2-5 type scheme, but a lot of the outside linebackers and ends are kind of rotating. They're getting that experience at both sides of it, and they're excited about what they bring to the table to rush the quarterback. I think this is they're going to hammer stopping the run at all cost, and it might kill them in some games, but I think it's going to pay off, Trev.
Dude, I honestly, they went all in on defense this offseason. I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the offensive players I think look pretty good, but like some of the edge rushers, even as the freshmen, like Rashad Bradley coming out of Mississippi, 6'3", 255, 15th best player in the state of Mississippi, 37th nationally ranked. I mean, that's a great pickup. He's only a 3-star though, which is strange to me. But I mean, being a top 50 player and still being that way, but I mean, he's 5th at the position in as an edge rusher. So I mean, I'm optimistic. I think between the portal and what they've gotten in recruits with between D linemen, linebackers, and edge rushers on top of the safeties and corners that they added, I mean, the defense is going to look totally different. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
However, I'm very optimistic for them being able to actually stop somebody.
Yeah.
Because last season, whether you want to admit it or not, being able to stop people in crucial moments is exactly what they lacked.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the new coaching change with the new personnel will shore up that defense and make it a little more stout, especially go through the Big 12 season, because out of conference stuff is what it is, but you have to win. You have to win in the Big 12 because I feel like it's wide open this year, especially.
After losing, Texas and Oklahoma, I know Oklahoma State fans won't like hearing that, but I mean, they're the powerhouses of the conference, and that's everybody knows that. And now that they're gone, the Big 12 is wide open. It's looking for somebody to become that top dog. And Arizona State came out of the woodwork last year, and they put it down. So now Oklahoma State's like, okay, this needs to be our conference. Like we were old dogs here. We just got smacked around. It's time to shape up. And again, defensively, they brought in linebackers that look good. McCoy, from Akron, he's one that's really stood out from the spring. And I think that, another guy, a younger dude, he was a cornerback. He stepped up last year. That's Kabongo. He's another guy that watch out for him. He, from everything that I'm reading on him, he looks to be the stud out at the corner. So you fix that D line up. Watch out. This defense might shock some people. So we'll see. Again, you mentioned Zaquan Patterson too. I want to see, he's a 4-star in 2024 class. What can he do for this defense? Trev, let's move on. You want to talk some schedule here?
Yeah, I suppose we can.
Because this is where, again, you talk about, similarities to Indiana in a way. Their over-under's 5.5. Last year, Indiana was, I think,
talk about
5.5.
Talk about a lack of confidence.
Yeah, that's Vegas and not believing. But I mean, you look at it; it shapes up pretty tough. All right,
it is not an easy schedule. I don't care what anyone says.
People laugh at the Big 12; they'll shit on it, whatever. But to me, it's a deep conference. Yes, it's lacking the elite names and the elite, whatever. But I think any of these teams can beat majority of the teams, from the ACC, from the Big 10, from the SEC in head-to-head battles. Yes, it loses the star power, but you still have Iowa State, Kansas State, Texas Tech's done a lot of big things in the portal this year. Houston's trying to make that come up in the second year of their head coach, Baylor even. So you look at it, they have a 5.5 over under. Trev, what are you seeing on that? Because obviously you get a tune-up game with UT Martin, but then week 2 at Oregon is brutal.
And then you get a loss, and then we move on from there.
Just chalk it up. Just chalking it up.
I'm sorry, Autzen Stadium, especially in the early parts of the season. That's rough.
Young
That is
quarterback.
rough to like trying to rebound in a season, and you get second game out with basically a whole new roster. I'm sorry, guys, but like that game might just we'll chalk that up as a loss, and we'll move on. However, if you guys put it all together and beat them, I will tip my cap to you. I promise.
Yes, sir.
I promise, and I will be happily proven wrong.
This is you need to have realistic expectations this season, Oklahoma State. Again, 5.5 over under. To me, you're just looking to really push that 8-win mark. You got to get back up into that area. Bowl game especially, that's a must. But say you take the loss to Oregon, you move on, you play Tulsa, beat them, and then you play Baylor, which is improved. I think they're a good team. Arizona, we're going to cover soon. They're a team that they think they're going to be improved this year too. Fafita, can he get back to it? Houston, I mean, there's teams here that you should beat just on the name alone, but they're probably going to be a little tighter than what some people expect. So,
and that'll be the key is that you guys had enough close games where you guys were in it until you weren't.
Yeah.
Last season where you kind of have to hopefully the coaching staff has learned from the mistakes and they can kind of position the team in a better spot. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give you guys, for me, it's an over for me. I think you can do 6 wins this season.
Yeah.
But it is going to be a lot of tough games because you mentioned it earlier, Brendan, where like everybody kind of looks down on the Big 12, but I look at Big 12 as more in a vacuum, right? So it's all about who you're playing. Like if you are playing teams at the same level of competition throughout the entire season, generally speaking, that is a rough season.
Oh yeah.
Where if you're on like for lack of a better term, an Indiana type schedule where it's kind of a couple tough teams that you can pinpoint, but then you can kind of pick through and say like they should probably be able to win that as if everything goes right. That one, but that's within the conference they can do that. Yeah. I don't think that Oklahoma State can do that with the Big 12 conference this season.
I agree. Looking at it, I mean, UCF, I feel like that should be a win. Cincinnati, Tulsa, UT Martin. So there's 4. Right. Can you squeak out 2 more? Again, Houston, you probably should, but I think they're going to be improved. Arizona, same thing. Those to me are tight games. Mm-hmm. Baylor, I'd probably go as a loss on that one just because it's still early. They're more experienced and together in the roster. Kansas is going to be a funky one. They believe in what they have. Kansas State, Iowa State lost a lot, but they still have good quarterback play. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be tough. But I would just urge patience. I see what Gundy's trying to do. We said a hot seat type thing for him, just because people are talking about it outside. They're talking about it inside from fans that I've seen on Twitter and stuff too. That they're tired of you get there and then you fall, but there's no like building off this current momentum. Right. But to me, if you go 3-9 again, what do? You fire him? But to me, you do. I know, like I would be pissed if I was a fan, but
then again, you run into the same conversation that me and you and I think Blake was having last season. We're like, but who do you replace him with?
Yeah.
Is there another coach at his caliber that you feel comfortable replacing him? And I think last season, after all the coaching carousel was over, the answer was no.
It's the devil, and you trust,
exactly.
So it's like, I don't know. Let us know, fans, from your perspective. Obviously, again, we're outside looking in. Let us know things that you see, maybe some people that we missed that you think will really stand out for the offense, defense, and why you believe, how you get over that 6 win. Because I've even read articles that said they're dark horse for the college football playoff. I just personally don't see it right now unless this team really throws that shit together like in Indiana did last year, where it's okay, we need to see it to believe it. and maybe you guys see more
Right,
than what we do, obviously, as fans, and you're in it all the time. So let us know in the comments, YouTube. We appreciate it, and we'll take all feedback. We're not, we're here to try and figure these teams out too. So, Trev, anything else on this Oklahoma State team?
Nope. Nope. I think that we pretty much covered it. I think they're going to have a decent season. I just don't think it's going to be the season that most of their fan base is wanting.
Yeah.
It's going to be a struggle with the transition for the new coaches and the transition for the new roster. So, like Brendan said, I urge patience. Do not overreact if they lose a couple of games at the beginning of the season. There are going to be growing pains, and I expect that to be the case,
especially with a young
for
quarterback.
Oklahoma.
Especially, I mean, he might be very talented, and he might go out and ball out, but
that's true.
Just again, patience. And hell, you might upset some of these teams. Again, Big 12 so wide open, but also still, the parity's right there. So,
right.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be another 3-game season. I pray not for your sakes, but we'll see. So we appreciate you guys watching. Check it out on YouTube, and we'll post it out on the socials. Let us know what you guys think, and again, who you might see that we did not. Hope you all have a good one. See you around.
Have a great week and be safe.
That too.